What is up, YouTube? I'm kind of going to make the weekly. Oh, I don't have very much light here, but I'm going to try and make more kind of weekly hangouts with you guys and kind of recap my week, trying to kind of squeeze out some more content because it's been really tricky on this job once you're doing 80-hour weeks, trying to edit videos and things like that can get pretty tricky. So live is the kind of best way to do that, unedited. And someone's calling me, but I shall message them back. I am home. Doing live video. All right, so this is all about Q&A, and a lot of this week has been all about my use of just the techniques with the slate mic and the tone. So what I was doing is putting the tone down to 200 hertz. That makes it actually quieter, so you don't get any bleed through the mics. And then I was using the scratch track. So when you kind of click that on, you hear kind of basically the feed to the boom up goes kind of quiet. And so I've been using that, watching the monitor, and with the aspect ratio, you have like a safety line that they don't actually record. And so I've been just getting the boom right in and really worrying the DP, which is quite cool. So yeah, it was all kind of about that. And then I upgraded my mic, spent like £40 just getting a new cable and a new kind of terrible mic. But it's still a lot better than the actual original slate mic. So that was cool. And that's worked really well. A lot of people gave me questions about why don't I have kind of headphones with a kind of talking set on. To be honest, I haven't really found the right ones yet. I'm just now kind of a couple of weeks into solidly testing out the M50Xs and really liking them. They're kind of really clean. They're not too kind of over the top powerful, but they're not too kind of bassy. Kind of like the DT 770s that I had before, which were kind of giving me, they give you kind of a studio feel, but because you have quite a lot of bass presence, it can kind of throw you off, or it was throwing me off because, again, everyone's kind of different when it comes to headphones. It was throwing me a bit off my game in terms of just really just understanding those levels of like traffic and voice, and everything was kind of blending into one, whereas this one's giving me the clarity but not as much clarity as the HD26s, but enough. Like I'm now feel like I'm at a happy medium where it's not like everything is like piercingly clear, like straight through, and it's like, oh, can I get away with that? Because I'm also doing the post-production on the current feature that I'm still finishing. But then I'm not getting the kind of bass and the kind of studio feel. So hopefully I found a kind of happy medium there. I don't know. We'll kind of see. So yeah, my week's kind of just been about that, really. That's been the only kind of progress. Just lots of kind of cleaning up the bag, lots of thinking about where to kind of go next. Yeah, just recapping the week, and lots of people are now joining. So do get questions in. I'm doing it live. I'm going to try and do it weekly now. New way of trying to get out more content, as I kind of said before. Didn't really miss much, Alejandro. And again, this video will be uploaded. Just kind of catching up with the videos that I did so far, mainly about the slate mic. So if you guys have any questions, then do let me know. Blues Clues. How many jobs have you gotten solely by being a guy who owns X name brand equipment? None, I don't think. A lot of people, it seems to be more like camera ops. Like when you're getting, or a lot of US shoots that come over to the UK, actually, they ask for equipment and they seem to know a lot of brand names. There isn't really, I don't really get that kind of vibe generally from UK people hiring. I mean, I just say I have the best stuff, and so I like say how much it costs and things like that, or is like the best this, that, or whatever. So I still sell with it, but I don't think, for instance, if I said that I had sound devices, someone who's only worked with Zaxcom or something would be like, oh no. So I haven't really got that. I think quite a lot of people don't really know or care that much. It's just mainly how many radio mics can you basically do this, and perfect, you can do it, great. So that's kind of that, really. No kind of brand specific stuff. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question. Greg Palmer, have you ever tried in-ear monitors instead of a headset? I can't. I haven't. Unless I think one time I did when I like broke mine, but they weren't very good in-ear ones. I think the thing I would be thinking about is kind of having almost that proximity effect of it being right in the ear canal. It just doesn't sound natural. I mean, I don't know the kind of ergonomics of like making it sound natural when it's kind of fully in your ear as opposed to like over the whole thing. But for me, it's just more comfortable. I think to have it on the outs, to like have it around my ears. I feel like I get less fatigue, and it'd be a lot easier to kind of just judge overall how it's potentially going to sound in post production. Mohammed Hamza, what kind of tape do you use to stick radio mics to actors? Well, Rory, my boom upper on this one, is mainly using what's called top stick, or like basically top stick. It's what is it? It's tape. It's like the medical tape. But we're also using a lot of Ursa tape as well, actually making little mounts. And then we're also using like Joe's sticky stuff. And there's another one that's very, very similar called Hippo tape. So you can look that up. I know that they've definitely got an Instagram because they reached out to me on that. So I tried some of that because they actually sent it to the art department, and the art department were like, you could probably use that. It sticks to a lot of stuff. But I don't stick that directly to skin, mainly just as tape. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Especially directly to skin. If it's to clothes, things like that, then you can get away with just Joe's sticky stuff and other stuff like that. But yeah, so hopefully that kind of answers your question. Blues Clues. How often do you wireless boom with your boom op? Haven't at all yet, because I haven't bought one. So I have, or even rented. I've rented some for some jobs where, for instance, I did a thing for Halloween for Fanta, and it was people stuck in a lift. So I basically just had a wireless boom rig in there, and then they sent it up and down, and it was fine. But in terms of with a boom op, I haven't bought it yet. Still thinking about where to go with my wireless. I don't know yet. I have four solid like Electrosonics SRBs, and it's whether I go to SRC, it's whether I wait a little bit for NAB, wait a little bit for later in the year, try and see how things are playing out, and actually just try and hold off and not try and jump the gun on the next thing coming out, because with the WYSICOM stuff coming quite far down in price, it'd be interesting to see how things play out, and especially with audio developments and sound devices working together. I think we're in an interesting point right now where I don't really want to blow quite a lot of money on things like that. So that's kind of where I'm roughly at in terms of that. Alejandro, do you know if Hyder mic has a concealer for the Countryman B6 or B3 mic? They do not, as far as I'm aware. They only just released the DPA one, and they already had the COS mount as well. But do highly recommend it. And I think if you've got Joe's sticky stuff, you could actually make a mount work. You can make that kind of, especially the bra one I love, and the tie mount I love the most. The other ones haven't really worked for me. So yeah, you could use kind of Joe's sticky stuff and still make a mount. But I think people generally using the B6s and the B3s for super hiding, something that you couldn't even get away with a Hyder mic solution. So, but that's just my thoughts. I don't know. Jay Boo just joined. What's up? Not much, man. Trying to make more weekly content, and then maybe I'll kind of take this video off, but then cut it into questions, just so you guys can kind of get the most value out of it. And then I'll just leave this up as one long running thing. So yeah, that's basically what's up. I'm kind of recapping my week, and then kind of, seeing how I can help you guys. Okay, Blues Clues. How do you go about cable management with your boom up then? So because I don't have a wireless solution, quite a lot of the time it's either I'm getting a runner to wrangle cable if that's needed, either I'm walking with Rory if it's kind of a complex shot, for instance, quite like a long dolly shot, and then I can be kind of by the monitor, see those safety lines, and just keep kind of helping him cue in and cue out to get as close as possible for really, really kind of sweet dialogue. So cable management is basically just down to that. Not too much trouble with the XLRs, so it's yeah, it's been pretty easy. So cable management is just pretty normal. Just if there's long runs of cables, just if anyone has to walk over them, just putting down rubber matting that they already have for some of the other departments. So yeah, just kind of there's no kind of magic. I don't think anything special that I'm doing. Just kind of normal, sensible. Keep the cable out the way. And if it's in a situation where he's going backwards and forwards and might trip over, then getting someone else to help me kind of wrangle that. Napat, what's your go-to spot to place wireless mics when subjects is wearing a t-shirt, especially for men? Ideally sticking it to the skin. If they have a kind of chest, not too hairy, then kind of putting it basically to the skin with something like Ursa tape or it has to at least be hypoallergenic medical tape or something like that, and hoping that that is low profile enough that the t-shirt doesn't rub or doesn't rub on the cable. So the go-to spot is right there, basically. So yeah, that's pretty much it, especially for men. For women, super easy, same spot. But usually if they're wearing a bra, then use the Hyder mic solution because that's super easy, or you can always actually just use so there's like the middle bit of the bra, and then so if you imagine middle bit of the bra and then skin, you actually put it in between those with something like an RM11, and then that kind of makes a nice sandwich for kind of keeping the mic in place. It's comfortable. You don't have to actually stick anything to the actor. And as long as it's not too uncomfortable, then you can get away with great results. Sometimes, depending on the chest size, you might need it higher or in a different position because it's kind of too buried for lack of a better term. So Alejandro, how do you mic on a tank top? I guess that's tank top. Same exact place because you're still kind of covered, hopefully, in that kind of middle center spot. So kind of same thing. Haven't had to do it so fast. So so let's see. Okay, got 15. Got 15,000 USD for my first sound kit. I've been working for 2 years renting. What is your suggestion off the top? What is your suggestion off the top of your head for £15,000? Depends what type of work you're doing, Jebu. Generally, I mean, I would start with boom microphones, kind of cable, boom poles, mixer, recorder if you need a mixer recorder as well, and then start looking at wireless. But generally, for £15,000, you can get a pretty decent boom setup and kind of even if you're wireless, even if you made everything else kind of really top end, even if you just have G3s but with COS 11s or like a decent mic on top, just for now for wireless, or you just keep renting your wireless, because I think the landscape's going to change for wireless. I think over the next couple of years. Yeah, that's probably what I would do. Greg Palmer, does your boom up use Sound Devices MM1? Do you provide it? If so, MM1. I need to look up that. Wait, because is that the the plugin for? Oh no. So basically, I give him a G3, but the IEM version, so he can turn that up and down, and then I kind of route whatever he wants to hear. So if he wants to hear just the boom pre-fade, or he wants to hear the mix, or whatever he wants to hear. So generally he just has that, and I don't need or is the MM1 for wireless power? Because I've seen people use them for different stuff. Yeah. Oh, microphone preamplifier. Yeah, he doesn't need that because we're not running a wireless solution. So yeah, generally don't provide that. And Mohammed, how do you record the room tone, and how do you record exterior ambiances in terms of microphones you use and their position? So ideally with room tone, you actually try and get it within the scene. So whether that's getting a director to kind of give just a few seconds at the end of a scene or a few seconds at the start before they say action, that's actually usually enough these days. With the post-production tools that I have with isotopes, I can actually use ambience match. And what that does is that allows me to create a certain section of room tone over and over and over again without kind of that weird looping effect. So it kind of kicks out anything that's kind of an anomaly in the little section that I give it to sample, and leaves everything else that's kind of constant. So it's a pretty good solution. Otherwise, if you need it separately because the room is sounding bad usually, then I just ask for it at the end, and I kind of keep the boom in roughly the same position. And if actors have wireless mics, then I get them to stand in their same positions. So often at times when there's a fridge on one side, you'll have an actor that's facing away, you'll have actors that are facing forwards. So it's good for everyone to have their own kind of room tone. So that's what I do for that's what I do for getting also room tone on the wireless mics. Although generally you would use the boom at least, but having that as wireless as well is useful. Julian, another great YouTube channel. You should definitely check him out. Julian Kraus. Hey Matt, what Les mics do you currently own and use? Why did you choose them? So I still have a lot of COS 11s, and I still have a lot of COS 11s because that's the mic I used to first upgrade from the G3 mic. Obviously now I've got Lectrosonics. I do also have the DPA 4071s. Don't use them as much. They have a pre-built-in kind of high boost or higher boost to make kind of more clarity in the voice, which is good, very good in some situations where things have to be buried a little bit. But you kind of find that you can't, if you have to bury a microphone, it doesn't become very useful. So generally not really using them that much. Super interested by the DPA cores. The DPA Slim is definitely very, very slim. And had a few tries with those. So I'm thinking of moving all in one go to a different set, but been very, very happy with the COS 11s overall. Heard different things that eventually they lose their kind of power over time. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's maybe time to kind of revamp them again. But that's generally how I chose my radio mic, and I kind of got it as well because the COS was even an upgrade from I had a Tram before that, but quickly upgraded to the COS 11s, and they've been a pretty staple. They're a pretty staple thing still in the industry in general. But with the new DPA core stuff, I'm probably going to look to move more towards that. So that's roughly my mic choice. J Boo, to union or not to union? Over here, the union isn't really as big as in the US, so I would probably take advice from someone over there, but I would say union is probably a good thing. Although if you need non-union work as well to supplement your income, then that's probably what you should do as well. Over here, it's probably a similar thing of doing work that is at a certain caliber, whereas over here it's a bit more Wild West in terms of a lot of stuff being hashed up as promo or hashed up as short films. So it depends what you're doing, but my general work in short films and feature films, it's kind of all just a bit of make it up as you go along and use the guidelines set out by unions. But our kind of map of things is definitely very different to the US, although it would obviously benefit if it was like the US. So not really the best person to ask that question, but yeah, I don't know too much about unions basically. So yeah, hope that answers JV. Oliver, what is the best way to mic starchy dress shirts when an actor is not wearing a tie? Past few shoots have involved this wardrobe rustle just kills me. So things to do are firstly get it. I mean, if the shirt is just loud itself, and for instance, you got an actor with like a hairy chest and it's the dress shirt and it's just going to be loud, or you got beard and it's like tight and you're just hearing every time they move. It's just not going to work. You're just going to have to. And sometimes those shirts are so loud you even hear them on the boom, just like that, and you're like, why? Even the boom is scratchy somehow. So generally using things like trying to make sure it's generally, I find it's down to the cable management. A lot of people are very good at hiding the actual mic, but then they get rustled from the actual cable, and the cable just the dress shirt rubbing against the cable, especially if it's kind of a more well-fitted shirt, can get very tricky. So even just adding something to the cable in those situations, like the Bumblebee cable saver. I did a video on actually using that more near the top of the mic, and it really cuts down a lot of that noise as well. It's not advised, apparently, according to a lot of cable repair guys, to do that a lot because you can actually strain the cable. But if you look at the video, if you get really stuck, maybe consider that. And they're really useful on the other end of the cable for a bit of tension in case they're getting accidentally pulled. So it's very much trial and error, I'm afraid, because even if you have the same dress shirt, you put it on a different person, sits a slightly different way, you do a slightly different thing. But that is generally, if I say the cable, focus on trying to get that away from the dress shirt. If it's just a loud dress shirt, there's not that much you can do, unfortunately. Greg Palmer. I noticed on the SD10T there is two strange sample rates of 47952 and 48048. I've only recorded 48. When would you use these oddball rates? So you would use those odd sample rates actually for if you're doing things like drop frames, I believe. So yeah, drop frames. Yeah, they make odd samples. This is what I vaguely remember, but I need to check it. But generally, that's definitely what I've heard before. Let me see. So it's a pull-up apparently. So rule 1. The 48.048 kilohertz workflow only works if the picture is being shot at true 24 frames a second. The picture and sound editorial is being done in NTSC, which is 29.97 or 23.98. Rule 2 is that the 48.048 kilohertz sample rate only works if the project is finished and released on video, not film. And it's only useful if they are stamped using -F mode, which I don't know what that is. And rule 4, the sound editorial must agree that it's a good idea to use that sample rate, and everyone must agree on them. So there's more on that. True Audio posted a great article on that, so I'll just add that to the comment section, and you can kind of click and see through that. But essentially, yeah, it's basically for sound, what they call pull-up. And so that's because they pretty much, because you're going from say 24 and you're slowing down a little bit, when you do that slow down, it pulls it basically back down to the full 48 kilohertz. So that's basically what it is. That's what those extra 48,000, or no, 48, just 48 hertz are for, apparently. So yeah, that's what the oddball rates are for. Very rare that you're going to use those. I don't think I've ever used those. And again, just like with drop frames, it's for a very, very specific scenario. And generally, a director, as an editor, people will be involved and tell you when to use them. Otherwise, you probably shouldn't. I'll say as a general rule. At least that's what I do. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Greg. Mohammed, okay, what are the approx levels you keep dialogue, ambience, and music at when you mix a film in post? So what they actually do is you're meant to calibrate your room. So you're meant to use pink noise, and then you're meant to basically calibrate it to a listening level. You'll hear a lot of times people so get a sound meter reader, and then you'll get a lot of people telling you to have, depending on the size of the room, they'll throw numbers like 80 decibels, 79, 78. So you basically get up to that level, and then you don't have to worry about meters pretty much. You just have to then put your dialogue at that comfortable level and then sit everything else in accordingly. So that's kind of the best way to do it. It took me a while to get around that as well. I was asking similar questions like that as well before, because I always thought, do I have to do the -30 for this, that, and the other? But it's actually all about just how you hear it, funnily enough. So you basically calibrate your room to a certain level, like it will be played in the cinema, so that if it's too loud and it sounds too loud to you, then it is too loud, regardless of what the meter is telling you. Obviously, if you're clipping the meter and it doesn't sound loud enough, then that's a kind of different problem. But yeah, definitely look into that, Mohammed. Boo, how many backup radio mics do you bring on set in case the worst case scenario? Generally one or two, depending. On the feature film right now, I haven't really brought anything extra because I'm never really maxing out all my radios, so they become backups. So I just bring my 4 Lectrosonics, and then I just have some G3s. But generally, even if I have, say, 5 people, I choose the person with the least dialogue, and we just make sure that we cover them on the boom, and we try and get coverage. Trying not to use radios that much on this film. Sometimes it's a necessity, but they're just kind of there as a nice backup in case I miss something. But we're doing pretty well with everything on the boom, and me watching the monitor, and with our little scratch track and tone, being able to get really, really close. So everything's working out pretty well. Blues Clues for Fools. How do you deal with a client who doesn't understand or respect the audio department? You can't, basically. It's the quick answer. Either pre or post being hired, do you not bother with them or try and convert them into good clients? There's no benefit to you converting them into good clients. You just kind of have to, if you're working with them and they turn out to be bad clients, then yeah, it's a sucky time for everyone. There's no point trying to convert anyone if no one cares about your department. For instance, if directors start talking over takes in commercial shoots or whatever, and that's just what they want to do, then that's fine. You have to just put out, all I do all day is basically just put out what is the best case scenario, and then if they don't like it, then it's fine. It's not personal to me. It's like it's their project. I'm there to help them. So I just come from a very kind of I guess kind of humble place of just being like, look, I'm here to help. This is what I would advise. Can we go again? Would that go again? And then judge each situation kind of as it goes as well. So yeah, there's no kind of definite thing about that. But generally, yeah, if if you can tell already the kind of tone of how working with them and how that's going to be, then and it's not a good one, you're probably best off staying away and saving everyone some time. So yeah, and no problem for doing the chats, by the way. This is why I want to do more live stuff. Again, it's really hard doing daily stuff when you're doing like 14 hours a day, or 12 and then travel. Alejandro, Matt, am I considering getting Sennheiser G4s? So I had a look at the G4s. They're exactly the same as G3s, pretty much. But they're a bit of a wider band range, which is interesting. Good way to go. Not sure how much they cost. For me, personally, wouldn't care. Don't think the price of the G3 is going to go down in any astronomical way compared to, for instance, what happened to the G2s. I mean, maybe I'll be wrong. I don't know. But I kind of think that G3 itself is just so ingrained in people's minds that people will only be going to G4s maybe in the future as the kind of place gets more crowded in terms of the spectrum. So yeah, I haven't really heard too many other. I saw them in person, but the guy said that there was just a few improvements here, there, and the other, but nothing amazing to write home about for me personally, anyway. So still, I think G3 is perfectly fine. Again, with any of the G3, the G4, any of those kind of what I would call entry level, they're solid packs. Don't get me wrong, but I would say they're definitely a core entry level kind of product for wireless. They're really handy as well. Just generally, actually, this is why they're really even. It's almost doing a disservice saying that they're entry level, because they do the flexibility and the routing and the simplicity and being used all around the world and blah blah blah. Yeah, they're really solid. So G4, yeah, cool. If you can get them, bit wider range, that kind of stuff, not too shabby. And it's about time, right? It's been friggin' ages since G3 came out. Mohammed, thanks for your help. No worries. And Andri, what do you think about combination of SD552 and Zoom F4 for the recorder? I think that's fine. I think unless you're talking about buying both of those things, in which case I would maybe there's some other considerations that you can put in, but in terms of that, it seems pretty solid. I mean, the F4 only has four tracks to record, so I guess you'd be mixing down at some stage. So maybe, I mean, I guess you have the stereo mix on the SD on the sound devices, but yeah, it's okay. But just think about your back and how heavy it might be. But I can understand your logic in terms of putting a mixer in front of the Zoom F4. A lot of people swear just by the Zoom F4 as just the Zoom F8 and going straight in. So yeah, I think it's, yeah, I don't know. Give me another comparison of what you would think of getting as well. But in terms of just flexibility and routing and things like that, it's pretty good. And you even get a stereo mix if you just wanted to bring your 552, just do a stereo mix. You're only doing 2 channels all day, then you don't even need the F4. Doesn't even matter. Because I think it still has time code, doesn't it, the 552? So hopefully that answers your question. Hopefully there's water in this. Oh, there is. There we go. It's important to hydrate. J-Boo, how important is it to have an interior mic like an MKH50? Would a 416 be acceptable? Depends on your definition of acceptable. Generally, the rule that I've come to know is that with what's known as like a hypercardioid or even a supercardioid, depending on which websites you're looking at and what mic, something like the MK50, the 8050, the MK41 chirps. The thing is that the roll off of the frequencies is kind of universal. It's only kind of going down it's going down evenly in frequency response as you go off axis, right? So imagine I'm talking to this, and basically as I go like this, all that's happening is all the frequencies are equally rolling off and going quieter at the same time. So it sounds really smooth if I go off mic. Whereas with a 416, if you look at the polar pattern for the 416, you'll see lots of some jagged edges around different frequencies. And what that means is, gotta get a bit more comfortable, that if you, let me sit up properly, that if you go off mic, then you're going to have basically a really weird, or like a discoloration in the sound. So that's the general problem with shotguns indoors. That, as well as getting strange reflections, because obviously you're in a box, right? So using the screen as a room, if I have a mic here and I talk, it goes ding, 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 300 miles an hour, or whatever it does. And then it goes back in the mic here, or in here, or in here. And then you're getting that weird discoloration again. So that's generally the reason why it's a great, great idea to have an interior mic. And you should get that well over upgrading your wireless, for instance. It's just going to, save you So much time. So, da-da. There we go. Okay, I've got more stuff to do. Oh my god. Yeah, so phase issues as well, maybe as well, because it's bouncing all around. So generally, and also those hypercardioids are more sensitive. So with quieter dialogue and also getting close, and everyone sounds nice and rich, and they just sound amazing. And sometimes you can even use a full, even use a hypercardioid outside because it's even though the traffic and things like that are going on, if the scene is loud enough, again you get that equal, because you're getting that equal roll off. You're not getting any weird things if you're moving around. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Mohammed, what things should I keep in mind while doing location sound for a 5-minute mise en scene? You might have to clarify that. But yeah. So yeah, sorry, you have to clarify that, Mohammed. As in a scene with there's no dialogue. Oh, just a long take. All right. Keep in mind for doing a take. I mean, I guess yeah, get comfortable with your boom positions and get used to kind of being able to keep the actual mic in the same position, but being able to change your position to stretch out your muscles and stop you getting like locked hands and things like that. Otherwise, that the background's going to change, so try and control that as much as possible. Make sure you have enough card space. Kind of basic things like that, I guess. Oh, Alejandro just looked it up, so it's $900 US, $900 for G4. It's about what, $500 for G3. I don't think G3s are going to go away anytime soon. Blues Clues, in a recent chat with Jeff Wexler, he mentioned using the CMC 641 outside as well, guys. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did that already. So actually, the Jeff Wexler chat is literally from 2015, 2014. I just sort of rehashed them to try and help people kind of get all those little individual amazing nuggets of information out. So yeah, and again, like I just said actually before, I use my hypercardioids outside sometimes because you don't get that weird discoloration. So it's quite nice. I've had Blues Clues had great results for informative, and I will yeah, this will basically become a video of itself. Let me know in the comments if you want me to kind of chop this up some more. Maybe I'll cover all of today, but I don't know. But more likely another random day of the week every week, and then we will chat then. All right, guys. So until next time, see you later.